Good evening and good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate, viewers. Since the pandemic hit India and we went into a lockdown, one of the biggest segments that has been impacted outside, of course, of the overall economy has been education and has been the population of our students. It has thrown their entire calendar year into chaos, and that's the part that will continue to be one of the biggest challenges for our governments, for our colleges and schools, teachers, students and parents. Because viewers, even if limited activity starts on the economic front, in the business front and work front, when it comes to schools and colleges, it's a whole different matter altogether. And the fact that exams and schools and colleges and then the job future is all interlinked only makes it more complicated. And so one more time, continuing with our constant focus on education and the academic year and the issue of exams, tonight we put the spotlight on the final year exams for universities and colleges. There is a huge amount of chaos and uproar that's going on across the country right now. How did it start? Well, it started with the center and the UGC saying that it is time now for us to go ahead and hold exams. And so UGC came out with a set of guidelines of how to go about holding exams for the final year of colleges. Now, the options are multiple. But despite those guidelines being put out, at least 6 states have already come out and very clearly, in no uncertain way, said that they don't want this. 4 of those states have just said no to holding exams right now in the current scenario, while 2 others have actually asked the UGC and the center to reconsider this decision. But let me tell you what is it that the UGC has to say. Few states are not following protocol. States announcing cancellation of exams at colleges and universities, and that's not okay. A degree without UGC approval doesn't really mean anything, and that's exactly a sentiment that has also been reflected by the center, that while we understand right now it's difficult to hold exams, but how will you get a job? And what will be your future if the degree is given without a certificate and without exams being held? UGC also says that some people are putting the future of students at risk and creating confusion, and that the HRD ministry will meet state education secretaries to take this conversation forward along with all of the states. But they even pointed out the fact that this is not something that UGC came up with by itself, that they did hold conversations with various states, and at that point of time, 70% of states had said that exams must be held and that it is necessary, they will be beneficial to clarify and to clear out the path for the future of our students. Things have changed since then, clearly since this meeting, with many states now having second thoughts. And some of these states is understandable, like Tamil Nadu, like Maharashtra. The 2 states that have the highest number of cases and every day are still reporting a high number of active cases. The states say it's just not possible for us to hold these exams. We're going to go into those details as we carry on this conversation. But viewers, this is a conversation about you if you are a student or a teacher in a college or a parent of a student whose future now hangs in balance and you don't really know what to do, or you have a specific view whether or not the exam should be held in September, cancelled altogether, or delayed further. So our phone lines are open. Pick up the phone and be a part of this conversation here on the Urban Debate tonight. Very quickly, I just want to go across and say good evening to the panelists who are joining us right now. Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP, Akshay Marathe, spokesperson for the Aam Aadmi Party, Ruchi Gupta, AICC Joint Secretary for National in charge of the NSUI, the Students' Wing. We also have Professor Ved Prakash, former chairman of the UGC, Dhruv Jati, a student from Bengaluru, and Saurya Majumdar, also a student, joining us this evening. Saurya, in fact, let's begin with you. Just for our viewers to know, tell us what is it that you're studying and what's your view should exams be held right now?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Mirror Now for holding a discussion on the issues that lakhs of students in this country are raising today. I'm a student of sociology in the Jawaharlal Nehru University, and I'm going to be finishing my year this time. So I will be among the students who will be affected by the decision of the UGC to bring in these kinds of online examinations and push for examinations even during the COVID pandemic. I can tell you that, like me, there are many others who are facing constant anxiety every time that a new guideline is put out and the dates about our exams, whether we will be promoted or not, is put at risk. Very quickly, I'd like to tell you a chronology of what has been happening to us exactly. On 27th of April, the UGC issued the first guideline, which allowed all universities across the country to host examinations wherever possible. This created a host of WhatsApp universities across the country, with MGCU in Bihar becoming the first university to conduct examinations over WhatsApp. After that, a number of universities followed, which students also resisted. And lakhs of students wrote to the Prime Minister's office, to the UGC, to their departments and their vice chancellors, and asked for online exams to be cancelled. Uh, After this, because of this huge movement, and at least seven states cancelling online exams, saying that this will not be possible given the technological circumstances and social circumstances in the country, cancelled online exams. Even UGC started speaking that guidelines could be expected soon. Yet something changes on the 6th of July. In the night of 6th of July, it is not the UGC, it is not any other consultative body, but the Home Ministry under Amit Shah, which decides that it's okay to have online exams and it's okay to have exams during the pandemic. After this immediately MHRD, Minister Pokhriyal tweets that there will be guidelines out soon. And very soon we have the UGC put out a 2-page guideline, which is supposedly built after the consultation that the central ministry under the RSS BJP is defending right now. The question is that the 7 states which rejected online exams, out of them, 2 of them were BJP ruled states. It was Madhya Pradesh and Haryana, currently ruled by the BJP, which decided to go against the online exams diktat. But suddenly, it seems that on 6th July, something drastically changed in how the government has been able to manage the COVID crisis, that the Home Ministry feels that it's okay to conduct exams, whether physically, digitally, online, offline, or in a hybrid mode. So it's absolutely inexplicable how all consultative processes, whatever talk of cooperative federalism has been done away with, and suddenly the BJP wants to score political points, wants to play with the future of students in order to settle scores with different governments across the country. I'd also like to point out that even opposition parties, non-BJP states have also not performed as well as would have been expected. And it has been students who have been pushing for online exams to be cancelled. It's great that we have a minister, a spokesperson from the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi itself. It was IP University under the Delhi government which first said physical exams would be conducted, and Ambedkar University under the Delhi government also conducted online evaluation. It is great that they have changed sides now and they're supporting the demands raised by students, and it is expected that the UGC and MHRD takes back these authoritarian unilateral decisions.
Sorry, I'm just trying to understand, personally for you as a student, what is your opposition to holding exams online? Why do you think that won't work?
First of all, we are having this conversation not over Wi-Fi, but over a 3G connection on a phone. Many students across the country don't even have a smartphone, let alone a 4G connection or Wi-Fi. From Collective, a student organization that I belong to, we conducted a survey and we reached out to different students who could not even access internet to access online classes, and they shared their grievances with us. We heard from women students who did not have an environment at home where, along with their domestic chores, they would also now be forced to take exams. We heard from students in Kashmir who haven't had anything beyond 2G internet for almost a year now. And we heard from PWD students who have faced severe discrimination because of the online portal, because of the registration processes. We've heard from students in different villages who don't have any computer system that the central government is so passionately defending today. All of these facilities that they're defending do not actually exist.
Okay, fair enough. That is a conversation point for sure. If there is enough data to suggest whether people have access to a stable internet connection even for online exams or can travel to a place or even a center, what about those who are in hotspot zones and containment zones? Or now, as we speak, there are many cities and towns in our country which are in complete lockdown. That complicates the situation even more. Dhruv is joining us from Bengaluru, I believe. Dhruv, what's the view of students over there? What should be the solution for this entire problem?
Similarly, as to how Mr. Shaurya said that, the UGC and the states are playing with the lives of students. I mean, especially when we talk about final year students, this is the crucial stage. And to remind you, the UGC is the backbone of every student's career. Now, if you have UGC giving ambiguous and vague guidelines, then of course the states are also going to be confused at the same time, which is going to lead to a lot of problem. What I don't understand is that, during a pandemic, is it necessary for the country to conduct examinations just to prove a political point? Why are radical organizations using students as a medium to promote their political propaganda? I mean, I clearly don't understand this. In Bangalore, there has been a huge chaos, especially with regard to Christ University that conducted online examinations. There was heavy amount of dissent from the students, and the situation is deteriorating. I feel if UGC doesn't give out any clear guidelines for final year students as well as intermediate students, then it's going to create chaos, because on the 29th of April, UGC released a statement in which it said that the UGC guidelines are only advisory, which makes it very difficult now for everybody to understand, because states are also going to give directives to colleges and everybody is confused regarding this. And since the 6th of July, there has been no intimation from UGC or states with regard to any clarifications on this. I really would like to question the BJP spokesperson that is present here and to clarify his stance and to explain why that there hasn't been any clarifications made. And with regards to NSUI that has been protesting, I really want to ask them as to why that they're protesting and why that, during such a time that they're using political propaganda and using students as mere pawns.
Okay, all right. Let me get in Tuhin Sinha then of the BJP. Tuhin, do you want to respond to that? And I just want to point out that, yes, there are thousands and lakhs of students today who are not very happy with the decision that is being made about holding exams in such an environment.
The UGC's decision to hold exams at this point of time needs to be seen as a statement of intent, which is important to maintain the credibility of a merit-based education system. If you get into the details, you will find there is enormous flexibility throughout. In fact, the first and second year students have been exempted from exams. It is only the third year students, and across the world, whether it is MIT or whether it is Oxford University, they are following the same practice. There are multiple options. Either you go in for online examinations, offline or blended form. The date, all the standard operating procedures will be followed in the exam halls. And then again, let me tell you that if in September, if we come to that situation where towards the end of August we see the situation deteriorating, the health and the safety and well-being of the students will be paramount. There is no hard and fast rule. We are open to amending it at that point of time. But at this point of time, a statement of intent needed to be given out, because the opposition coming in from people like Rahul Gandhi or the Thakres is unimaginative populism. You can't play with the future of students and give impression that they can be passed, or they can, the merits of an exam system will go for a toss entirely.
No, that I understand that.
This is clearly a political agenda. What
really
intent are you talking about? Is it political intent?
This, but 1 minute, guys, 1 minute. Let me just ask Tuhin one question. Tuhin, I know you said that the UGC it's only a statement of intent. Then what does the HRD ministry mean when they say that UGC guidelines should be mandatorily followed, that evaluation of students is crucial for career opportunities, and that the exams have to be concluded by September end? This is pretty much saying that end of conversation, the exams have to happen in September.
At this point of time, it's still 2.5 months away, and I'm sure closer to the date, there will be more details coming in from the HRD ministry. But at the same time, let me tell you that there's some select political parties which wanted to get into this populist agenda of pandering to the sentiment that we don't need exams. That needs to be confronted across the globe. There is a competitive, there is a merit-based education system which needs to be maintained. But yes, nobody knows how the pandemic, what turn the pandemic is going to take. We still, assume at this point of time that post mid-August, it would have passed its peak. But yes, closer to the date, if we feel that students coming into the exam hall would face, there would be a health scare. I'm sure we would take an appropriate decision, which may not completely, which may extend the date.
Okay, let me just point out one thing, that while the UGC has said it has to be a combination, and it can be a combination of online, offline, a mix of both, or just one of the two options, depending on, how the states want to go forward with it. The one example that we did see of exams being held was actually in Karnataka, and where school exams for certain classes were held, final exams that were pending. And in the run-up to that, after the, we've seen that the number of cases there have only gone up. There was a lot of chaos and confusion on ground, and now it is being cited as one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why things have become difficult for Karnataka right now. I'll come back to you. I just need to bring in a few of our other panelists. Ruchi wanted to make a point. Ruchi Gupta, and then we'll go across to Akshay Marathe. Yes, Ruchi.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I want to first say that let's not misrepresent the position of the Congress Party and the NSUI. We have not said that just cancel exams altogether and pass students without evaluating them. In fact, every time we have said evaluate students on past performance. That's the first point. And there are many different formulations that can be used. Professor Thorat has said that you could average out the last 5 semesters, you could use midterm internals. There are many other ways of evaluating students on past performance. In fact, UGC's former chairperson, Professor Thorat himself has said that evaluating students on past performance does not in any way devalue the quality of the degree. That's the first point I want to make. The point is that if UGC feels, and if the BJP feels that giving students, that evaluating them for the third year, 1 semester out of 6, if evaluating them on past performance somehow compromises their degree, then why does it not compromise the degree of first year and second year students who have been, who according to the UGC should be passed and promoted on the basis of past performance? In either case, whether it's the first year or the second year or the third year, it's 1 semester out of 6 for most undergraduate courses. So whether it's the first year, it makes no difference to the quality of the degree. It's 1 semester. The third point I want to make is that the spokesperson for BJP just said that agar September mein nahi ho payega, so don't worry, we will just postpone the exam or we will reevaluate. I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to say. Exams are supposed to be held in April/May. You can't keep students suspended for 6 months and then say, oh, we will then postpone exams for another few months. You will waste a year. The final year students, some of them have actually gone to court saying that we've already gotten a job or we have gotten admission abroad and we need the clearance certificate. But you will keep them suspended, you will make them wait, and then in September you will say, oh, we will make you wait some more. I mean, that's a ridiculous point to make. And the last thing I want to say is the UGC wanted to be the apex body to set guidelines. They should have gotten their act together far sooner. They just kept sitting and sitting. They waited for state governments. First, they said that our guidelines are advisory. So state governments then took the initiative and then they cancelled exams. And students started doing other things in those states. Now, suddenly, when they thought that the opposition states have stolen the march on them, on July 6th, they come out of nowhere and they say, well, everyone must conduct exams and those exams must be conducted compulsorily, even in those states that have already cancelled. I mean, it's a ridiculous proposition. And the last point, there was a committee that was constituted to give recommendations on what should be done. On the basis of that committee's recommendation, first year and second year students were promoted on the basis of past performance. Now, the committee, it is speculated that the committee actually said that promote third year students as well, final year students as well. That committee's report was never made public. I think this is a political decision made not because the BJP and the central government is worried about devaluing degrees, because their logic is not internally consistent. I think it's an internal political decision because they felt that opposition governments were stealing the mark. Very
Okay, let me bring
issue. That's why they are now.
Okay, I want to bring in Akshay Marathe also on this. Akshay Marathe, why would this be a political decision? What is the BJP going to gain out of it? And also, because your own government took a stand saying not possible right now. Tell us why. What are the reasons that you have to not hold exams right now?
Tanvi, first of all, let me tell you, I am not only here as a spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, I am myself a final year student of the law faculty in Delhi University. I have to give exams sometime in the middle of August as per the university. So I am also an affected party, and I truly, deeply feel really, really sad for the lakhs of students who are currently protesting this move. And I'll tell you exactly why. The fundamental reason that students are demanding that exams be cancelled is that the basis of holding exams is that universities provide education to students and then judge those students on the basis of that education. If you remember, we had a lockdown in this country for the last where regular classes have got washed out. Students returned to their hometowns without carrying study material. They did not have their course materials, their books. Online classes were barely accessible to hardly 20 or 30% of all students. So when universities and colleges have failed to provide education to begin with, students are today asking, what are you exactly going to test us on? Do you expect that we students should have deep insight of the semester syllabus by birth? Without you having taught us, you want us to write full-fledged exams on the entire syllabus during a pandemic? This is the fundamental argument. Now let me go into the details of why the UGC's guidelines are problematic. As the NSUI spokesperson said before me, India follows a choice-based credit system where all 6 semesters hold equal and independent weightage to providing a degree for a student. So if it is okay to skip an exam for year 1 and year 2, how is it different for year 3? If anything, the final year students have actually given and passed the maximum number of assessments in the last 3 years. Point number 3. You have premier institutions of this country, including the IITs and the national law universities, who have all conducted their final year assessments without holding examinations, and they have held what are internal assessments, which do not have full-fledged written exams in the form that the UGC is recommending, or rather mandating, that all college students must go through. So if an internal assessment evaluation does not devalue the degree of an IIT, a national law university, why is that standard different for all the other universities and colleges? These are fundamental questions. These are not coming out of any kind of political or any kind of technical arguments that maybe some have online access, some don't. These are questions that the UGC must answer, because we are citizens of this country who are being dictated to by the government without understanding the rationale that we are putting forward. And this is a question that the BJP spokesperson needs to answer today.
No, so very quickly, Akshay, very quickly, before I go to Professor Prakash, now I'm asking you as a student, what would you want as a solution for these lakhs of students who are protesting? Their future also hangs in balance. If you don't give the exams and get your completion certificate, how do you move on?
Tanvi, out of the 5 papers that I have in this semester, one paper has already conducted 50% evaluation based on internal assessment. Another paper, which is actually a practical paper, should have had practical trials during the course of the semester, was not conducted because of the lockdown. So they have converted into a theory paper. So it is not as if internal assessments are not possible. They are possible. They are being done in certain cases. The question is, why can't they be done for other papers as well? How is it any different? Internal assessments are rigorous assessments. Around the world, the best of universities follow internal assessments to judge their students. Why is Delhi University or Christ University or Jadavpur University any different?
Okay, Professor Prakash, you've heard everybody's views. We've got students, political representatives, those who are taking a stand on whether or not exams should be held, and many questions are being asked of the UGC right now. Your view about this issue?
See, there are two issues. One is the issue of promotion of students of first year into second year and second year students into third year, and the conduct of the final year students. They are interrelated issues. They cannot be seen in isolation, and the entire issue actually needs to be examined from five different perspectives. One is the question of professional credibility. The another is the question of legality. The third is about the safety and security of our students under the present circumstances. And the fourth, which is also equally important, is about the public acceptability. And the fifth is about administrative feasibility. Now, if you examine these five issues one by one, let me reflect initially on the first and the foremost issue, which is the issue of professional credibility. If students are promoted without ensuring the end product of instructional effort, as also without determining whether the learning is sufficiently complete to move on to the next stage, then it raises the question of credibility of the entire process.
Okay, we seem to have some problem with that feed of Professor Ved Prakash that was coming in. Let me actually very quickly ask Dhruv to... Okay, Professor Prakash, we lost your line for a bit. Go ahead, please finish your point.
The second one is the issue of the legality. If some of the students have really worked hard and are confident of displaying much better performance in the last leg than the previous ones, and they get promoted on the basis of earlier averages, then it raises the genuine question of its legal defensibility, unless adequate provisions are made to addressing the concerns of such candidates, which can be done. And I'm going to suggest a solution for that. The third issue is about the preparedness of our institutions, whether they are able to put in place a system to ensure the safety and security of the children. And the fourth one is, if majority of the stakeholders are disregard of the earlier three because of the fear of the worldwide mayhem caused by coronavirus, then it raises the question of its public acceptability, which need not be dismissed without exploring reasonable alternative measures to these in these trying times. I will stop at this point, and then I have a suggestion also, which I will share a little later. If you permit me, then I can complete my...
Okay, I will come back to you to the suggestions that you have. I think that will be very crucial to this conversation. We want to have a constructive conversation and not just make it about, a blame game of what's going on. But Saurya, do you want to also, react to what Professor Prakash has said here? There is a question mark about the future, about the credibility of what you carry from here on if the exams aren't held right now.
Yeah, I think the solution, it's not about solutions not existing. I think the solutions have been proposed again and again. Students, particularly in Delhi University, for example, have said, as the representative from AAP also said, that if first and second year students are being evaluated and promoted based on 2 or 4 semesters, then why can't terminal semester students also be evaluated by a average which holds greater weight? And the solutions are clearly there, and the delays that the representative from the BJP keeps talking about, that they don't matter, if they might not matter for him, but it's very clear that thousands of students do want to be promoted now, don't want more and more deadlines to be extended. And if the UGC isn't really serious about this, then why is it that yesterday it issued a public statement saying that states who move against the UGC are violating the UGC Act and that they could consider action against the states. It is the UGC which has not consulted different state governments, not consulted all the stakeholders involved while coming to this decision. So it's not about solutions not existing. As other panelists have already spoken, the solutions are there. It is only about a government. It is only about a government which is extremely authoritarian and unilateral. And it is, for me as a citizen of this country, where higher education is in the concurrent list, where states and central governments are supposed to be working together, it is not acceptable that Amit Shah decides whether I will have exams or not. It is as simple as that. It's a question of that basic federalism, that basic democracy, which is being violated today and causing anxiety.
Okay, then the big question becomes, how do we take everybody together and move forward? Because Tuhin Sinha, the UGC says that when we held our consultations with the states, over 70% of them were on board with this idea and said, yes, we must hold exams.
Has actually validated my point. Now, I do understand there has been a massive disruption to, and probably half of the, or a significant part of the semester would not even be completed. But that again makes it important that even if there is specific directive for the question paper to be leniently set, it is important to at least have an exam. Otherwise, students would, have this temptation or this tendency to completely skip the last semester. And last semester is significant. It is very important and critical for their, professional credibility or the credibility of the careers they are undertaking. So I think our point is very simple, and at the same time, I don't need to emphasize enough that the safety of the students will be paramount. In fact, if you go into the SOPs which have been laid out, I am pretty sure they pretty much take care of that. And at the same time, if at that point of time, Delhi or Mumbai would be in the same situation that it is at this point of time, I'm sure the dates would be reconsidered.
So here is what I am thinking, technicalities aside, and there are so many layers to this conversation. It's not a simple decision to make to say to hold exams or not. So many things are interlinked. But let me ask you a simpler one, Tuhin. From which angle, from what point of view, basis what data does the center or UGC believe that we will be out of the woods by September?
No, see, India is a huge country, and different parts of the country are seeing this crisis peak at different points of time. So if exams were to be held today, I'm sure 50% of the country would be perfectly safe, and nobody knows which way the virus is going to go or which way the crisis is going to go. So therefore, I repeat what I had said right at the start. The announcement at this point of time needs to be seen as a statement of intent. Maybe 1 month down the line, we could reaccess it in mid-August.
Dhruv, does this help? If
Tanvi, I would like to come in here.
That right now it's not a hard and fast decision, and we may relook at it basis the situation closer to September. Let me just get an answer from Dhruv, and then I'll come to you.
Tanvi, let me just say something with regard to the assumption about things getting better in September is just leaving the students in dark now. I want to speak for the common student here, a student that isn't affiliated to any political party. All right, so we don't want NSUI, BJP, or Aam Aadmi Party or anybody to interfere in this. It's a pure student matter. The pure student is struggling at home. We have older parents at home, for the ones especially who need to go out and write exams, for the disadvantaged people. The whole UGC guidelines is just making it worse for everybody, and there has to be immediate action taken from the center.
I missed the last line that you said, Dhruv. Can you repeat your last line?
So what I'm trying to say is that there has to be some form of action that's taken with the center and the UGC. There has to be some consensus, because students cannot be left in the dark this way. This is just going to ruin it for the common student, and everybody is worried about this.
Okay, Akshay Malate, do you want to add into this?
Tanvi, when the coronavirus hit us, we took several measures to soften the blow. We had a moratorium on EMI payments. We gave financial assistance to people in need. We gave free ration under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, as the BJP likes to remind us. When you have a global health crisis and a natural disaster, it is the government's duty and responsibility to come in the assistance of citizens and not come in opposition of citizens. Students today are adult citizens of India. We are equal citizens. We are saying loud and clear what we expect and what we want. We cannot be treated like children where you have a parent like government that is deciding the fate of the future of lakhs of people of this country and holding us to ransom on illogical and irrational grounds. Where do I go today as a student who was supposed to have graduated in April and May? Why do I wait for the central government to decide whether it's okay to hold an exam or not? They have shut down parliament. Their politicians are not going to parliament. Their government departments are shut down. But suddenly it becomes critical that students be harassed and bullied in this manner and forced to write exams for which governments and colleges and universities have failed to even educate us.
Okay, fair enough. I take that point. Let me bring in another viewer calling us from Hyderabad. Jerry is on the phone line. Jerry, go ahead. Good evening. What do you think should happen?
Good evening, Tanvi. I just want to give a certain input. You know, we have several views coming from different political parties. I just want to say one simple thing. We're comparing ourselves with, MIT and other countries. It's not happening in the basic universities, down south or even, some remote areas. You think they've got this kind of infrastructure to have this technology done within a matter of a month? Do you have any idea what it takes to, have 400 children coming to a college and making them sit down with all this social distancing? Last 6 months, we've not gone out of the house. What are you talking about having an exam? This government has to see all this, Are they really prepared? And tell me one thing, is there any indicator that things are going to improve in September?
No, as of now, the projections show that the cases will only peak in July and then August, and so we may not be completely out of the woods by September. Definitely to not to the point where people can start traveling across the country. We have to keep in mind also, Jerry, thanks for calling. We also have to keep in mind, viewers, that many of the students have already traveled back home. They're not in their college campuses and university campuses anymore. They may not be living in the same city where the university is, and wherever they are, they may not have access, to the kind of internet you would need to give these exams, or they may not be able to travel to an exam center. That's going to be the most difficult part of planning this whenever we do so. Let me actually go across to Professor Prakash on this. Professor Prakash, that I think is also going to be a big problem. Let's just say, okay, September may or may not be possible, keeping in mind the kind of COVID spread we have. But is it really possible, considering so many students have gone home? Where are they going to get online or offline access?
I am of the opinion that the issue in hand should not be allowed to linger on, as it is causing disquiet of limitless proportion amongst the parents and the students. Having regard to the harsh realities on the ground, what we can do is that the government has already taken a decision to allow the second year and fourth semester.
It's very interesting that we have these technical glitches. Actually, we have these technical glitches very often, Professor Prakash. But I think what's happening with our connection with you is a classic example of what may happen for many of the students who have to give exam online. Yes, let's see if we can hear you better without any interruptions. Go ahead, please.
Let me complete. The final semester could be cleared and declared. The final semester candidates could be cleared and declared fit for the award of degrees on the basis of the aggregate performance of their previous semesters, coupled with the sessional evaluation which has taken place until November or December, which together would constitute over 83% of their course content. And similar approach could be followed for the final year students of the 4-year bachelor's and 2 or 3-year master's programs. If there remain some candidates who do not subscribe to this offer of the university, which of course is going to be a very minuscule number, then provision could easily be made for their online and offline examinations, maintaining all norms of social distancing. My submission is, when risk and nervousness are gripping the minds of students and parents in the midst of coronavirus pandemic, it is best to negotiate a little with the process of evaluation for much needed respite. And the way forward should be, the alternate measure which I have suggested is to tide over the divergent scenarios being perceived by different stakeholders in higher education in view of COVID-19. But surely no time should be lost anymore to work out all dimensions of curriculum, transaction, assessment in an integrated manner, because the future beckons to blended learning through offline and online mode. So final word that I would like to say is that let us move in that direction in real professionalism and try to help the students who are anxiously waiting for the final call from both the universities and also from the regulators. That is my suggestion.
Okay, very quickly, Ruchi wanted to make a couple of points. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Tanvi. The first thing I want to say is, when in March we only had a few hundred cases, there was a draconian lockdown. Everyone was given 4 hours of notice and they were sent back home, or they were left stranded wherever they were. Now, when we have 9 lakh cases, the government wants all the students to come back from wherever they are in their homes, congregate in universities to take the exam, and that too an exam which is going to be pretty shambolic. Some of the exams that they have conducted really are not exam-like at all. Open book exams, those really completely random exams. The second point I want to make is the SOP is really very farcical. They have said that all students need to be screened, thermal screened. But we already know that 80% of people who have COVID are asymptomatic. They will not have any symptoms. So what kind of screening will you do of people to see whether or not they're actually COVID carriers or not? And they will probably infect people. So having lakhs of students come back from all over the congregating universities to take the exam is just sheer madness, and it goes against what the government itself advocated in March. And the last point I want to make is that the equity question is a very serious question. Already 2 students, one in Kerala, one in Assam, have committed suicide because they could not attend online classes. If the whole purpose of education is socioeconomic mobility, we can't force fit a solution which is going to marginalize the already marginalized. That would just be completely unfair and very iniquitous.
Yeah. You know, I agree with you on that point. And that's usually my answer to anybody who gives us an example of what's happening across the world, especially in the Western countries. There is no point in comparing ourselves to what Oxford is doing, because India and the demographics and the infrastructure available, all of this is very, very different. And the same solution can't really apply to lakhs of students in this country. I'm completely out of time, so I'm going to thank all of our panelists for joining us right now. Viewers, suffice to say, this is going to be one of the biggest challenges for the government, for the UGC, for the HRD ministry, as well as for universities and colleges to figure out. Not only that, even in schools, the same problem exists. We may want to go ahead with online classes, but how many people will be able to get access to online classes, to a good enough internet bandwidth and a system and an environment where they can actually sit with a desktop or a laptop and log in for their classes? Are we going to end up giving advantage to one side over the other? As far as the college final year exams are concerned, we were flooded with phone calls. Apologies to those who we couldn't take on this show. But yes, there is a large sentiment that right now is not the time to hold exams. Though I'm sure the students are also well aware that if they don't, their life becomes even more tricky with no clearance certificate or a mark sheet coming in. Whatever has to be the solution, the government and the UGC need to move quickly on it. It can't be that we will wait till September or August end to see what the situation is and then start looking at other options if it doesn't look like it's conducive enough to hold the exams. We need clarity now We need to move quickly on this issue now, because the future of lakhs of students in our country hangs in the balance. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.